Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys doing? Once again, it's Natalie and Omar, and welcome to Node 4. Okay, so what are we going to speak about today? The spirituality of gardening. How did we get here? Natalie actually brought up this topic. Call me and say, hey, Omar, you know, I'm in my garden, it's so beautiful. I spent a lot of time, working on it, and I feel so nice and calm and filled with energy whenever it is that I'm sitting inside that garden. We should do something about this or on the spirituality of gardening. No, I don't know anything about gardening, to be honest with you. But, like any good man, rise to the challenge. Oh. Anyway, right. So I said to her, yeah, that's fantastic. I don't know anything about gardening, but I'll go do some reading, and then yeah, I would definitely love to have a discussion. So I came across an article by Deepak Chopra, entitled "The Seven Spiritual Laws of Gardening," and brought it to Natalie's attention. And so we're just going to chat about that today. So, Natalie, go ahead, please. Say something about your gardening.
About my garden. Well, yeah, it was. It's exactly how you said. I was in my hometown. And I have a house there that I'm renovating. But so when I first got back to Australia, I couldn't work on the house. So I would go down there. I would literally just have a coffee machine and a blow-up mattress, and that was it. So I started working on the garden. So I've been lucky enough to have houses where I've had gardens wherever I've lived, but I've always had to leave them because I was living overseas. So this is the first one that I've been able to work on and keep. And so what I've done is also bring a lot of the yogic principles into it. And it's just been an amazing experience building it. When I first got there, it was overgrown. It was a complete mess, and I had to literally get a grader in and grade it out. And we had 2 tons of just overgrowth. And then I had a blank canvas. So from there, that's what I did. Whenever I could, I'd go down and start working on the garden. And it's now coming into fruition. It's only been a year, and yeah, it's magnificent, and it's just healing, and it's beautiful, and it's creating community around the place where I'm living.
Okay, just listening to what you said in the last minute or two about your garden, and I mean, because I read the article, I could actually pick up some of the laws that was mentioned in the article. So we'll just start from the top. All right. So the first law that I came across was the law of pure potentiality. And the notes I have here, I just wrote down 3 things actually: arrangement, selection, and potential to reality. So what was said in that particular article, right, is that, as you said, you created a blank canvas, with that grader. So you're saying you look at a garden spot and there's nothing there. But what it does is represents a potential for something great, So what will be the floor arrangement? How many rows? What type of floor are you going to use? What type of color do you want? What type of atmosphere are you trying to bring? And it's that process then from potential to reality. And it's the same way you can apply that to your life. So even though you may think that nothing is happening with your life at this point in time, but understand that it is a canvas, it's a blank garden, it's potential, and in the science, from potential, you just need to do work and it will go to kinetic. So it's the same way gardening in science or yourself, that you just need now to decide how are you going to align the rows in your life. What flowers are you going to use in your life to realize that potential? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it is. Because when I was down there, so no one usually uses their front yard in Australia, because that's where everyone goes out into the backyard. But this area with the space that was there, after I pulled everything out, it was just magnificent. You know, there was trees and like you said, it was potential. I would sit there every morning thinking, wow, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. And so I would dream. And that's where it all started from, just having coffee on the front step and yeah, and coming from my imagination, it just grew from there. And now it's something, it's a place now that, you know, I built a deck underneath the tree. I use recycled stuff, and it's become something really beautiful.
Right. So imagine applying that same thing to your life, ladies and gentlemen. So even though in the moment, especially during this time in COVID, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of challenges all around, but understand that whatever the situation, it represents a potential for something better, something great to manifest itself later down the road. Same thing with the garden, same thing with your life. All right, so the second law that I came across was the law of giving and receiving. And what this article was saying, it actually paid attention to the time and effort required in order to taste the fruit of your labor, really. Now, of course, think about any gardening. It takes time, you know, to go dig up that earth and plant or go get the seedlings or whatever it is that you have to do. But at the end of the day, whether it's, you know, peppers, tomatoes, or just beautiful floral arrangement, if you don't do that work, then you don't get that reward at the end. So apply that to your life. It's no different. If you don't do that work, then you don't get that reward. There's no bling bling for you, no?
It is. It's definitely. It's hard work, and like everything. Once you start putting energy into something, energy begets energy, and it becomes. You know, even the hard work, you can get into a meditative state doing it. You know, because you're not. You just focus on doing something. It's quite physical. It's very manual. I think I sent you a photo once with me, and I had the big drill thing there, and it's like I was exhausted by the end of it. But this sense of accomplishment, doing it is pretty amazing.
Very, very applicable in whatever form, life or gardening. Now, the third one I came across is the law of karma. And in bracket, it actually says cause and effect. Now, I'm a big Matrix fan, you know, absolutely love Matrix, not just for the action, but for all the subliminal messages that that you get from the movie. You know, if you really pay attention to the Matrix, it's a fascinating trilogy, to be honest with you. So there is this scene with the Merovingian, and actually, I believe I actually posted it on Facebook, and it had to do with cause and effect. So that's the first thing that I that I thought about when I saw this thing. And basically, what it is saying, what this law is saying, is the duty of care. You know, as you would know, Natalie, with your garden, you have to weed it, you have to water it, and there's a consequence for not doing those things. Again, if you take that and apply it to your life, it's not different. You understand? If you do not take care of yourself, you know, in terms of the energy you receive, the food that you eat, the lifestyle that you're living, the type of things that you are inundating your brain, you know, with, then all of those things have a consequence at the end. It's not going to be, you can do whatever you want for sure, but understand that there is nothing that you do that is without consequence, whether positive or negative. You know, so that's what I got from this. Your opinion, please.
Well, listen, I can tell you in terms of weeding out the gardens, I hadn't been there, so it's coming into spring now here in Australia, and I hadn't been down there for quite a few weeks because of just various things, kids at school and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was so overgrown, and it took me 5 days, and I had to just sit and weed it out. And I mean, it was exhausting, but the beauty of it afterwards was just something really. But you have to get those weeds out, and it's the same. And I love the way you're talking about the fact that in life it's the same thing. You know, if you want to produce, you know, high quality garden, if you want to produce a high quality life, or you want, you know, an assignment that you're handing in for, you have to put in the work. It's as simple as that. But what's interesting is how you change. You can put in the work and think of it as something that's hard and difficult and a pain in the neck, like my kids did when I tried to bribe them to help me, or you can change it and flip the way you think about it, and see it as being something, as a process to achieving something beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's how you think about it in the moment, because you know, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the weed and watering and all of that. Yeah, there are a lot of unhealthy influences which, you know, surround our lives, and whether it be, you know, your friend, whether it be a practice, a habit, whatever it is, that, yeah, you do all the work in your garden or anything like that, but understand that there are going to be some things that need to be removed from your life. You know, you can work as hard as you want in the garden, you know, till it, water it, get the best fertilizer, manure, whatever it is. But you have to remove some stuff. If you don't remove some stuff, then it's just going to strangle, you know, whatever it is that you've planted. So once again, you know, the law of karma, the cause and effect, a spiritual law, a gardening law, is actually a practical, realistic, and applicable law that can be used in anybody's life, you know. All right, so number 4, this one I found it to be quite interesting. It's the law of least effort. You know, the first thing that came to mind was don't work hard, work smart. When I in the act of reading it, you know, just as I saw it, I'm like, okay, all right, this is interesting, but that's not what it is about. Actually, it actually refers to the law of the universe. So this is what it was saying in a nutshell, right? That as much as you care for the plant, you know, or the produce, you know, you water it, you fertilize it, you know, really good rows, all of that. But the heavy lifting is actually done by nature. It's done by the universe. You know, it's not you that go in and multiply the cells. Yes, thinking about the law before with cause and effect. Care, duty of care would help that process. But in terms of the physical, you know, growing, expansion, in all direction of that plant until it bears, whether fruit or it blossoms, that is nature. So what it is saying is simply this: do the work, but trust the process in the garden. Same damn thing in your life. There are some things that you can't really control, but it doesn't mean that you can apply all the laws before, you know. You do the work, all the arrangements, you know, you edify yourself, you know, you keep yourself healthy, have really good practices, try and foster as much positivity within and around you. But there are still some things that you probably can't control, and that is left up to the energy of the universe, just like growing a plant, same way in possibly a direction that you may go. So that's how that's what it discussed. So your thoughts, please.
Well, it is exactly like that. There's a saying, you know, let go and let God. And, you know, you do everything, you put the structures in place, you do the planting, you do the weeding. But after that, it's got nothing to do with you. You know, you have to, I mean, you have to keep maintaining it. But like you say, the universe then conspires to help you, and it grows this beautiful garden. And it's exactly the same as in your life. You know, you put energy towards something, and and if the energy is clean and pure and the intention is, then the rest is a universal force. It's like actually Adam Smith wrote about this in The Wealth of Nations. It's the invisible hand that, you know, basically generates energy. And so it's the same thing. It's a universal force, but the same thing does apply to your life. And anything that you do, you put energy into it, you do the work, and then after that, there's a point you have to let go and allow it to happen the way it's meant to happen.
Yeah, another thing that I wrote here is you don't have to constantly nitpick. And yeah, it's so true. And you think about it, especially a perfectionist per se. So it gets to a point where the amount of work that you do, you end up on the other side or the backside of the curve, where time spent on something does not necessarily yield any more positive results. And that time could probably be best spent on something else. Yeah, so, I mean, deep into the article though, it speaks about you don't have to remove every bug from the plant. Why? Because not every bug is harmful to the plant. You know, there are some bugs that actually, you know, kill other, you know, harmful insects, you know, for the plant. And trust the process. I guess you hear that being thrown around so many places nowadays. But yeah, that's it. All right. So we are up to number 5. The law of intentions and desires. What this was saying, as I understood it, is ask yourself the question, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you need to eat organically? Are you doing this because you just want to outdo Natalie's garden? You know, are you doing this to, you know, to just have a beautiful garden, or are you doing this for your own, you know, well-being, or just something to do, you know? What the article is saying is, whatever that reason is remember it. And when the going gets tough, so when you're doing all this work, picture the outcome. So if you are doing it to get some organic food, you know, when the going is tough, picture that, you know, sun-ripened tomato, you know, you can taste it in your mouth. Picture that pepper. Or if it is, you know, something for beautification, just picture all everything blooming, you know, so you have that image. So never forget the reason you're doing what you're doing. Again, that is so applicable to life, you know. And there are so many journeys that you're doing a job that you probably don't like, but guess what? You have a family, you know what I mean? Or you're doing a course that is very difficult, but guess what? I need to have this particular qualification. Imagine yourself strutting across that stage receiving your diploma, you know? So that's what this law is saying. Please share.
No, it's well, when I went back down there last time, I was really overwhelmed to the point of actually even wanting to sell the house, because I'm halfway through renovations too, and it was just ridiculous, the amount of weeds that were in there. So it took 5 days, but I had to sit down and focus and remember the image that I have in my head of where that is. And I actually, like you say, you know, when you're saying about life, I mean, I'm halfway through my master's and feeling a bit overwhelmed. Not halfway through, but halfway through the thesis. But I have to keep going back to what it is that I'm trying to do. And it's the same with this, you know, it's in it feels like every area of my life right now. I'm halfway through everything. And the desire to give up actually happens on a daily occurrence, but I have to go back to what is my intention? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? What am I trying to achieve for my boys? Because it's not just about the house and the garden. I mean, the garden is a place of healing, and I hope it's a healing place for other people, but it's also then to generate money in the future. I want it to be a place that I can rent out and people can have an experience. So I have to keep going back to the intention, because right now, being stuck in the middle of it, and then even just faced with weeding for 5 days, it was it was overwhelming. I rang the real estate agent. I said, how much would I get for it if I just sold it now? And he said, no, you can't. So but that's it. When you apply that to, it's not just there, it's in every area of your life. It's not just the garden.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so number 6, law of detachment. At this point in time, if my voice was a little bit different, I'd probably start singing Let It Go. It probably would not fit my image. But don't worry, you know, I'll stay away from the twirling and the dancing and all of that, right?
I've seen you dance.
Not for Disney, I guess. All right. So number 6 is the law of detachment, and there's a particular quote under this which I'll just read. It says, "My actions are blissfully free from attachment to the outcome." And in bracket, I wrote, "Spend time enjoying the moment." So back to the garden. Okay, so from the previous law, yeah, you're picturing the outcome. You know, the food or the beautiful garden, whatever it is, of commercial value, whatever it is. But while you are attending to the garden, satisfying the other laws that we spoke about, there are opportunities to enjoy that moment. Enjoy the moment. For example, a flower has just bloomed, you know, that fresh smell, that sight, you know, or you see your food just started to grow, you know, you enjoy it, you imagine nature, you know, doing its work. You see an insect that is not detrimental to your garden, but you see there's life. So your action has now generated or contributed to another set of life, and you just watch them work. You know, it's like watching National Geographic, actually, sometimes, and you watch how these animals, you know, go about their business. Very fascinating. So you can actually take that time in your garden and stay away from snakes and all that. But
And spiders.
but she's in Australia. She's used to that, you know what I mean?
I know.
But the point is, amidst all the work, take time and enjoy the moment. So what does that mean for us? Have a glass of wine. If you don't drink, have a virgin daiquiri, whatever, you know. But take time, go on a vacation, go have dinner with your family, sit and watch a game. So no matter how you're doing work to accomplish this beautiful garden, this beautiful product at the end of the day, remember to take time and literally smell the roses. You know, take time for some time for yourself, you know, and recharge your body. Absorb that relaxation moment. That's what this is saying, the law of detachment. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, in yogic terms, the law of detachment is being detached from the outcome. You have to, you know, you put in the work, you do your best, and you know, when you're saying before, you have to let it. There's a point where that's all you can do. So you have to be detached to the outcome and enjoy the process, like you say, along the way. You know, yeah, that's. The law of detachment is that no matter how much I try and control what it is in my environment, there are things that are just going to happen automatically. Like in this case of the growing of the garden, how they actually ends up looking is, it's you play and you experiment. Some things are going to die and some things are going to thrive, and so it's a constant evolution, and you have to let go of. You can have a concept in your mind, but the ultimate outcome you have to let go
of. Okay, cool. So number 7, lucky number 7, the spiritual law of Dharma. So there's a quote, and this one I had, a bit of trouble with just understanding initially. But I'll certainly share my view of it, and we get Natalie's, of course. So there's a quote, and it says, "My life is in harmony with cosmic law." And what I wrote down, just for my own understanding, is a deep sense of purpose and awareness. Harmony reveals itself. So for me, how I interpret that is, in a nutshell, what purpose do you serve? How does your life fit into the world? All right, let's take it down a notch. How does your life fit into you? How does your life fit into your family, fit into your community, fit into your town, etc., etc.? How do you fit? What type of puzzle are you? What's your puzzle piece in this cosmic jigsaw of life? And yeah, everybody's answer is going to be different for sure. But to gardening, how does a particular flower fit or add value into the entire garden, or that tree, or that plant, whatever it is? How does that fit? How do you fit? So I ended up with this more of a question, really. Not to say you fit here or there, but in a nutshell, for me, I took it as, Omar, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? What do you think?
This is a big question, actually. It seems, quite, in terms of gardening, I don't know how I can, but how each plant interacts with each other. I mean, they all play a vital role, and they support and grow together. So there's no one particular plant that's necessarily more important. Each individual one, like a plant is not a garden. They're all working together. They all play a function and a role to create something beautiful. So, I mean, if you're relating it to individuals and our life, we all play a role, in each other's lives, in the greater family and then community, and then on a global sense, is that we all have our path that we need to choose, and yet that's all interrelated with everything else that's around us. Sorry.
Yeah, there's this story that we just have a couple of minutes to go, but there's a story that I saw on social media. I don't remember where, but this is a story about a farmer that had a really good corn, and he made sure that his neighbor had, good corn seeds as well. And I think he was asked, why is it that you are allowing your neighbor to have good corn seeds as well? And what he said was, if my neighbors have poor seeds, then they'll produce poor corn. And eventually, some of those pollens will make their way over to my side. And that will, help to bring down the value or the quality of my particular crop. So by keeping all the good crop and not giving him any, or allowing him just to have bad crop, eventually I will also have bad crop. So if I share with him my good crop, so none of our crop will be, degraded. I'll still have value. So it's really and truly, it's in my best interest. So that's what this thing kind of reminds me of, is, just I guess, our duty, I believe, make sure that the person around you is as good or better, because, the saying, iron sharpens iron. You know, good fosters good. We tend to go to our lowest common denominator, I guess. So you want to make sure that that lowest common denominator is as high as possible, and is what I took from it. So okay, all right. So that's a 7. All right. So this is what we spoke about. We spoke about really discuss a particular article, the 7 spiritual laws of gardening and how it applies to life. And just to run through them again, it's the law of pure potential. So just like a blank, empty piece of earth, our lives are potential. You know, it has the potential to be great, whatever the situation. And the law of giving and receiving. So time and effort. You need to do the work to enjoy the fruit. You know what I mean? Same with gardening, same with your life. The law of karma, cause and effect. And this is about the duty of care, especially when it comes down to weeding and watering, the nurturing, and getting rid of things that does not foster growth within your garden or within your life. Number 4 is the law of least effort. Do as much as you can. Don't be nitpick to the point where you end up on the backside of the curve. And understand that, you know, the universe, you know, the energy within the universe will take care of certain things, but you still have to do the work, right? Next is law of intention and desires. Don't forget why you're doing this, because times will get rough and you remember why is it that you're doing what you're doing. And number 6, the law of detachment. Enjoy the moment. Sometimes you don't think about the outcome, even though it mentions that in the law before. But take time to smell the roses. Take time to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. Go have a glass of wine. You know, go have a nice meal. Go on a vacation. You know what I mean? And number 7, which is the law of dharma. So, what's your purpose in the overall scheme of yourself? What's overall your overall purpose in your family, in your community, in life? You know, so that is it actually. I personally learned a lot. As I said, I didn't know anything about gardening, so it was good to see these and how, you know, spirituality of gardening can be used, you know, for your life. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a spiritual practice. I think anyone who's a gardener understands this intrinsically, but it's also, I mean, it has health benefits, has emotional benefits, you know, being out around nature. It revives you, and the physicality of the work is actually really quite rewarding. I mean, you know, when you're mentally tired, it's really hard to turn off, but being physically tired is actually a pleasure. It's a, you know, you end of the day and you have a glass of wine, you sit back and you see what you've done. There's a huge satisfaction in that, as opposed to, you know, being mentally tired. And it clears your mind actually as you're working. It becomes almost like a meditation state. When you're, you know, you're doing one thing after the other and you keep going, it does get into it's hard work, but it also gets into a point of meditation. And I cannot see, you know, like, it really is a healing thing. And I've watched my journey over the last year as I've been building this garden, you know, coming back to Australia and building it, and I've changed and healed with the garden as I've developed it. So it really is, it's a healing emotional practice, it's a physical practice, and at the end of it you get something that's magnificent. But it also, when I was doing it, I would be walking down this, you know, people would walk down the street and they'd come and talk to me about this garden, because it was a bit out there. It's not the normal sort of garden, and I've got a great big Buddha that I've got in it, and they would stop and they would talk, and so it wasn't just me getting the benefit of it. There was all these other people. One lady said she walks deliberately down that street to see what I'm up to every time, and it's really, it's a lovely sense of community, and other people are benefiting from it, you know, besides me.
Okay, fantastic. Well, there's nothing more I can possibly add to that, apart from saying, Natalie, a pleasure as usual. So thanks, brilliant topic suggestion. You caused me to go read, and anything that causes me to go look for information, I always welcome.
Actually, listen, I'm reading this book at the moment.
Okay.
It's called The Secret Life of Plants.
Okay.
It's really, really fascinating. And they're now understanding on a scientific level that plants have emotions, plants give off energy. So for anyone that really wants to know a bit more about it, this is a really good book.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, you put it up so they'll be able to see it.
Okay.
All right. So thanks, and we shall chat again. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in. And until next time, cheers. Bye-bye.
See you.